If you grew up in America between 1980 and 2010, you know exactly what Friday night meant. It meant being dragged through the automatic doors of the greatest store ever built. Aisles longer than a football field, shelves taller than your father, the smell of plastic and possibility. For an entire generation, Toys R Us was not just a store, it was a sacred place. And then in 2018, every single one of them closed. 8,000 stores gone. 33,000 employees gone. The childhoods of millions of Americans erased from the high street forever. But here is what they never told you about why Toys R Us really died. It was not Amazon, it was not the internet. Toys R Us was killed by three men in suits and a debt that was designed to destroy it. To understand how badly Toys R Us was betrayed, you first need to understand how great they actually were. Toys R Us was founded in 1948 by a man named Charles Lazarus. He started by selling baby furniture from a single store in Washington DC. Within a decade, he pivoted entirely to toys, and the world was never the same. By the 1980s, Toys R Us had become the dominant force in global toy retail. At its peak, the company operated over 1,500 stores across 35 countries. In the US alone, Toys R Us sold 1 out of every 5 toys purchased in the entire country. Their mascot Geoffrey the Giraffe was as recognizable as Mickey Mouse to an entire generation. The company generated $11.5 billion in sales in its final full year of operation. That is more revenue than many national economies. Without its debt, Toys R Us was profitable every single year it operated. The stores were not failing, the products were selling, the customers were coming back. And then 3 private equity firms walked through the door and changed everything. In 2005, 3 firms decided they wanted to own Toys R Us. Their names were KKR, Bain Capital and Varnado Realty Trust. Together, they purchased Toys R Us for $6.6 billion. But here is the part they do not advertise. They only contributed $1.3 billion of their own money. They borrowed the remaining $5 billion and loaded the debt directly onto Toys R Us itself. Imagine someone buying your house with your own credit card, then handing you the bill. That is essentially what a leveraged buyout is. Overnight, Toys R Us went from a healthy company to one buried under $7.6 billion in debt. From that moment on, Toys R Us had to pay $400 million every single year, just in interest. That is $400 million that could have gone to new stores, better websites, lower prices. Instead, it went directly into the pockets of the firms that created the debt in the first place. While Toys R Us struggled to survive, KKR and Bain collected $464 million in fees. They were being paid to watch a company they had broken slowly fall apart. Now you have probably heard that Amazon killed Toys R Us. That story is convenient. It is also largely wrong. Toys R Us actually had a functioning e-commerce deal with Amazon as early as 2000. They were one of the first major retailers to embrace online selling. But because of the debt, they had no money left to invest in their own technology. While Amazon spent billions improving their platform, Toys R Us could barely afford to update their website. Walmart and Target were also competing hard, and they were winning on price. But Toys R Us had $400 million per year going to interest. Basket of toys at Toys R Us cost 20% more than the same basket at Walmart. Not because Toys R Us was greedy, but because they had no choice. A company with $400 million in annual debt, payments cannot compete on price with a company that has none. Amazon did not kill Toys R Us. The debt killed Toys R Us. Amazon just happened to be nearby. And the people who created the debt walked away with hundreds of millions in fees. From 2005 onwards, the story of Toys R Us is a slow suffocation. The company tried everything to fight back: new store designs, experiential retail, interactive displays. But every dollar spent on improvement was a dollar that should have gone to debt repayment. In 2017, Toys R Us filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. The filing cited over $5 billion in debt and an inability to compete with online retailers. What the filing did not emphasize was that most of the debt was manufactured in a boardroom in 2005. Toys R Us had hoped to restructure and emerge from bankruptcy stronger. In March 2018, the decision was made to liquidate the entire US operation. 800 stores began closing, shelves were stripped, signs came down, Children passed their faces against the glass of stores that would never open again. And the three firms that created this disaster, they had already been paid. When Toys R Us closed its doors for the last time, the math was brutal. 33,000 people lost their jobs in a matter of weeks. Many of them had worked for Toys R Us for decades. Stockroom managers, cashiers, store greeters, people who had dedicated their lives to a brand, and the majority of them received absolutely nothing in severance. The bankruptcy estate had no money left for the people who had actually built the company. Meanwhile, the executives received a combined $14 million in bonuses during the bankruptcy proceedings. The CEO alone was eligible for millions in incentive payments. Workers who had given 30 years to the company were told there was simply nothing left. Some of them organized. They marched. They demanded KKR and Bain pay their severance. KKR and Bain had collected $464 million in fees. The severance bill was $75 million. They had the money. They chose not to pay. Eventually, after enormous public pressure, a small fund of around $20 million was established. The Toys R Us story is not unique, it is a template. Private equity firms use the same playbook on company after company after company. Step 1. Find a profitable company with valuable assets. Step 2. Buy it using mostly borrowed money and put the debt on the company itself. Step 3. Charge the company management fees every year, whether it is profitable or not. Step 4. Try to sell the company at a profit within 5 to 7 years. Step 5. If it fails, walk away. The debt stays with the company, your fees are already collected. It is a model designed to make money whether the company succeeds or fails. Since 2000, private equity buyouts have resulted in over 1.3 million retail job losses in the United States. Toys R Us, Sears, Kmart, Payless, Pier 1. The list reads like a memorial for American retail. These were not failing companies. They were profitable businesses handed impossible debts. And the firms that did it, they are still doing it right now to companies you use today. The question is, will we learn what happened to Toys R Us before it is too late for the next one? So what does Toys R Us actually teach us beyond the fact that Wall Street is not your friend? Lesson 1. Debt is the most dangerous weapon in business, more dangerous than any competitor. Toys R Us had 20% of the US toy market. It still died because the debt was designed to kill it. Lesson 2. Nostalgia is not enough to save a business from structural financial destruction. The people who loved Toys R Us could not save it because they were never given the chance to. Lesson 3. When private equity buys something you love, pay attention. Ask who knows it now. Ask how much debt was used to buy it. Ask where the fees are going. Because the next Toys R Us is already in someone's private equity portfolio right now. 33,000 people paid the price so that three firms could collect $464 million in fees. That is not capitalism. That is extraction. And there is a difference. Geoffrey the Giraffe deserved better. So did the 33,000 people who wore his badge every day. Every week on Empire Files, we tell the stories that corporate boardrooms hope you never hear. Subscribe to Empire Files and drop your answer below. Tell about which company you want to listen about.